Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the 815 Sports Podcast. We got Drew Schmitt with us here tonight, special guest, a.k.a. Drew Lenardi. Guy's been studying like crazy. He sends me all his Snapchats and shit. I think he's already filled out 50 brackets. We got Illinois superfan Jake Harkar, as we typically do. We got some brackets here tonight. We're also going to be doing a bracket just like we did last year. I posted the information as far as the username and then the password to get into our bracket. It's posted on the ESPN Men's Tournament Bracket Challenge, and it's in the description below. But before we get into some of the teams that got left out, some of the teams that we thought should have been in or maybe even gotten a higher ranking, before we get into all that, we want to kick it off with how about Illinois, Big Ten champs? Yeah. Pretty damn good season for them, obviously. And what a past, 4 or 5 years for them. Jake, we'll let you start it off.
This is the 5th year in a row that Illinois would have made the tournament prior to that COVID season, so really 4. But 26-8 record overall, 14-6 in the Big Ten. I mean, that's pretty good. I don't know that, you want better, right? But
that's pretty damn good.
They finished second in the Big Ten behind Purdue, who's a 1 seed, who's a lot of people's favorites to win it all. Mm-hmm. So while they weren't number 1 all year, they ended up being number 1 at the end of the day. So just congratulations to Illinois and what Brad Underwood's done, because this program, as we all know, was in the basement with John Gross, and for a couple of years, about 5 or 6 years there after Weber, it was bad. They didn't even make the tournament for 6 or 7 years. So it's just a joy. What a joy it is to be talking about them, and having a chance. Now they're probably not going to win it all, right? They're only
you never know.
1 team out of 64. Yeah. But they have a chance, and that's all you can ask for. Mm-hmm. They ended up being a 3 seed.
Now, what you just said that, do you think – I personally think they should have been a 2 seed?
No.
After they won the entire tournament?
No.
You guys don't think they should have moved up at all?
No. Well, what were they though? They were the last 3. They were the last 3 seed, right? Yeah. So that means
that basically says if they lost, it would have been a 4.
Yeah, they weren't really close to the 2 seed line. I don't think. They were close, but I mean they weren't that close. But what's their peak in this tournament?
I think peak, I'd say Final 4.
I would say Final 4.
I'd say Elite 8, just because if they run into UConn's really good, especially with their size.
Yeah.
And they probably have, I wouldn't say they have better guards, but they have better front court. So
and UConn's experience.
Yeah. Who's their center? Who's that big guy they got? That guy's a stud. I'm not sure what his name is, but he was there last year too, and he's a stud. They got that Tristan Newton.
But
he's really good.
Did anybody watch the Big East championship game between UConn and
Marquette?
Who was it? Marquette.
Yeah.
It was 12-12 with 6 minutes and 47 seconds left in the first half. So it's just you just got to get there. Mm-hmm. Right, because you never know if you get there. Because if you have 12 points versus Illinois with 6 minutes left, you're probably going to be down by 15, 20. So,
what I like about what I've seen from Illinois in the past 2 games against Nebraska and then the other day when they played Wisconsin was they were going to the hoop at will. The look they had in their eye, especially the second half of that Nebraska game, like. Because in the first half, let's be honest, maybe you guys thought differently than I did. But they didn't really – sometimes I think their talent is just going to, beat every single team.
You cannot continue to get down by double digits and expect to win every game, because they're not going to do it. They can't get off of these lazy dazzle starts. It can't take Brandon Underwood at halftime telling you to look in the mirror. You guys aren't as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
You actually have to go out and do it, because that's what he's doing. He's chewing their ass out. And it's working, but that you can't turn the ball over. You can't just shoot jump shots in the first half, and you just can't think that it's going to just be there. You got to do how they play in the second half is how they have to play, at least for 75% of the game. Because I'm going to tell you what, in March, without Big Ten officials, that's another thing. These officials are going to officiate different, so. You might not have a foul fest. And Terrence Shannon Jr. shot 44 free throws in 3 games and made 38.
That's damn good.
I don't know that it's going to be like that in this tournament.
Well, you never know. It's going to be
So-
different every game, every team, different matchups.
Especially if they make Sweet 16 and run into Iowa State.
Iowa State's
If
good.
they play like shit for 8 minutes, they won't be down by 10. They'll be down by 20.
Yeah, you can't.
You're done.
Illinois can't be going on these scoring droughts. Every single game they go on about a 3 or 4 or 5 minute scoring drought where they score 0 points. Can't happen. It cannot happen in this tournament. And I'm telling you what, they'll lose and go home early just like they do every year if they go into a scoring drought.
Will you be pleased if they make it to the Sweet 16 and they run into
I
Iowa
don't
State?
know, I
Who
guess.
honestly, I think Iowa State could make the Final Four and win it all too.
Yeah, but I don't. This team's good enough to beat. I mean, this team's good enough to play with any team. So
I agree.
We'll be happy that they finally made it to the Sweet 16. But
This team will go as far as Shannon Jr. and Damasco. You agree?
yeah,
You agree?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I think Hawkins is a big part of it too.
Hawkins is an X factor.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if Hawkins comes to play, Illinois can beat Iowa State again. Iowa State won their championship game 69-41.
Yeah. You have 4 conference championship winners in this side of the east side of the bracket.
Yeah, that's another. We can get into that in a little
Auburn, Iowa State, and Illinois.
But-
We finished up there, Jake.
No, I'm just saying UConn or what was I talking about? The final score of the game.
No, he said something about Hawkins being an X factor.
But you were talking about
Talk about Iowa State. And
yeah,
Houston.
in Houston in the Big 12 champ. The final score is 69-41. So while Iowa State did absolutely dismantle Houston,
70 points ain't that much.
it's only 70 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Illinois I think they can compete with that. I think
agree.
even on a bad game, Illinois is going to score 60.
I think Illinois
So-
could win it all. I really do. I think
They're definitely good
enough.
enough. Terrence Shannon Jr. might be the best player in college basketball.
I'd take him over Zach Edey.
Who besides Zach?
Well,
Edey?
everybody says Zach Edey's best basketball player in college
Tell
right now,
me-
and I disagree
Tell
with
me
that.
who else gets to the rim at will, who can just pull up and shoot like that over Tamanaga can, I guess.
Dalton Connect from Tennessee is pretty
Dalton
good.
Connect's pretty good, but I mean,
The kid from Kentucky, what's his name?
did Dalton Connect get to the line 44 times? And
Well, no, he's more of a jump shot guy.
I'm saying, but
Yeah.
that's overall. Is he he's top 3? Is he the top 3 overall best player in college basketball?
I'd say at least top 5.
I mean, so if you have a top 5 player in your roster, you should be able. You should have a chance.
The problem is sometimes he doesn't look like he wants the ball.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what Jacob just said. We're talking. He says, I think a huge problem sometimes is Shannon goes 3, sometimes 4 possessions without touching the basketball. That is true. I think even in those possessions, though, I think a lot of it's Damask, backing down for fucking 20 seconds trying to get to the rim.
And that's what the team wants, though. If that's the matchup, that's what the play is going to be. But at sometimes when Shannon's just sitting there in the corner, I wish he would go demand the ball, go to the top of the key and get the ball. But
that's the thing too. If they get to at least a Sweet 16 and they run into a good team, I mean, Shannon's got to take the ball up the court.
Shannon's got to take the ball up court. And look, in March, it's all about matchups. And what I do like about Illinois is their size. They are a little bit bigger than most teams. I mean, Ty Rogers is 6'6", Shannon Jr. is 6'6", Hawkins is 6'10", Damask is 6'6". Who am I missing? Who's the 5th? Oh, Gary
Rogers is
How tall is Gary?
6'6".
Gary is taller than
we're talking
6'6".
about
Oh,
Rogers.
6'8".
Gary,
I mean,
6'9".
Gary's probably
You're
6'9",
starting
6'10".
Illinois starting lineup is 6'6" or taller.
Mhm.
That's you have to take advantage of that in March in the tournament.
And how about, I'm not saying that Ty Rogers is some offensive, guru, but just some of the rebounds. And he did have some key plays. I mean, he fights for every rebound now.
Ty Rogers and Luke Goody came up with some of the biggest offensive rebounds in this tournament for Illinois, which kept possessions alive and which led to scoring. And that's what it's going to take, because you're not going to make every first shot. You're going to need offensive rebounds and kickouts that get wide open looks. And we'll see if they can continue doing it.
Drew, what about you? What do you think for Illinois this March?
I think it could go anywhere from losing game 1 to making the Final Four, really.
That's because this team is just.
And I was filling out my bracket, and I give them the first round, but the second round, I mean, as an
Well,
Illinois,
be honest.
as
Let it out.
As an Illinois fan, if my money was on it, I would take BYU. But the only reason I didn't is because I hope I'm wrong.
Well, let's be honest. BYU is not a 10 seed. They were
6 seed.
Huh?
6 seed.
No, you think they're a 6 seed?
I think they're probably a 5.
BYU.
Yeah.
They're a good team. They beat some good teams. Really quick.
Actually, if you look at the seed list for the NCAA, they're 17, which is the first 5 seed.
Yeah.
And the only reason they're a 6 seed is because with their religion, they can't play on Sundays. So they had to put them in that part of the bracket.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Good research here from our special guest, Drew. Christian said it's sad that they didn't give Terrence Shannon Jr. at least third team. It's not like he missed over half the year. He didn't miss over half the year, but he did miss a good amount of time. I agree with that. But, all the stuff that has come out with him this year, whether or not true or false.
How about the team sticking together?
Yeah.
Everything about this team and just sticking together. Things could have went south. They almost played just as good without him, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
They lost one game, right, to Maryland at home?
Well, they lost to Maryland and Purdue.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Maryland at home, Purdue on the road. So,
and then let's see, we go down here. We get another comment from Christian. He talks about Danger being a huge role in the tournament.
Yeah,
that's a good point. How about his game against Nebraska?
Why Illinois? Could you start Dane and Coleman at the same time and be the Twin Towers?
Well, it depends on the matchup.
It depends on who you're gonna not start. Gary?
Quincy.
Okay.
I mean, could you do that? Because Dane gives you more.
could.
Dane gives you more physical inside. He gives you more physical than Quincy because he's bigger.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes Coleman can't guard these big guys. And we can't keep starting these games out getting in the hole. So why not start big and let Dane guard the guy that normally is always down low?
Or the other thing, when they were playing Wisconsin, they got down 10 with 13 minutes left or something.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get a rebound, and they put in Hawkins, Guerrier, and Danger all at the same time.
You could do that too. You could be. I mean, Underwood has so many options he could use, but you always have to also have a Damask or Shannon out there with those three at the same time, right? Because that's not your best scoring offensive unit, and you got to score too, but they just can't keep getting in these ruts.
Really quick here, while we were talking about UConn, that kid on their team, the big kid, 7'2", his name's Donovan Klingen. But I mean, a lot of these guys were on the championship team last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt they're good. They're probably the favorite to win, as they should.
They are.
But
so we've touched a lot on Illinois. We could continue going on with Illinois, but so far, how about, like we said, just a hell of a year, got the championship. And we'll see what ends up happening. I personally think of all the teams, even the team with Io, I like this team the best because of how many, because of Shannon and Damask. I know Damask he's not always even like what Jacob just says here. He worries him with the turnovers and, spinning into traps. That's a fair point. But I mean, a lot of times some of the stuff he's able to do down there with his footwork and pivoting around. I mean, he does a lot of good things.
Sometimes you've got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to get some of that, but the turnovers can't happen in the opportune times, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you need a bucket, because sometimes when Illinois falls apart, man, they fall apart.
So we're going to just move in here. We'll start talking the bracket. Drew, I'll let you go first.
Now, do you want to start with the teams that got left out? Or do you want to start?
We could do that. So, yeah, Jake, start off.
So let's start with the teams that I think got left out. Let's start with the 6 ones that everyone's going to talk about, and we'll go into just a little bit about them each. St. John's, Providence, Seton Hall, Indiana State, OU, and Pittsburgh. Is that a fair 6 teams? We'll just start with that. So let me just start off by saying the research I did today, which is why I think each one of these teams got left out, the 6 teams I just named. There's Pittsburgh's strength of schedule was 96th in the nation. OU's strength of schedule was 63rd in the nation. Indiana State's was 135th. Seton Hall's was 86th. Providence had the 73rd strength. There's you get it, 73rd,
Mhm.
and St. John's was 64th. So if I had to guess, that is why the committee left these teams out. It is their quality of opponent who they were playing night in and night out weren't as good as the other teams that were in, which is a Michigan State. Yeah. That's why I think that's the only reason I think is their strength of schedule. I mean, Indiana State, their net was 29, but they also lost to Illinois State.
That killed them.
They lost to Bama and they lost to Michigan State. So you lost.
They had that Michigan State game too,
and they were one. Indiana State was 1-4 in quad one. I don't even, to be honest, why were they even in the discussion? Just because they were winning their conference? That's the only reason, I think.
I mean, probably.
They're
a decent team.
They're a good team, but
wasn't
135th was
Well,
their
what can you do
schedule?
though? You got to do what you're given. You
gotta-
can't control that.
Right.
small-
So you got to win.
So
you
they
got
have to win one of those two games to help.
The small schools call the big schools, basically saying, "Please play us." You can't say they didn't try. Who knows if they did or didn't?
Well,
try
they
very
did.
hard,
They lost.
Yeah, but they tried, I guess.
But you have to win your conference
Now,
tournament.
when you say ISU, are you talking Iowa State?
No, that's
or
Illinois State. Illinois
Okay.
State.
Because I also refer to Iowa State as ISU.
Indiana
sometimes.
State had to win their tournament, and that's what the committee is basically saying.
Well-
You cannot get into March with that horde of a schedule.
Well, here's the thing: because they were the third team out, Oklahoma was first. Who was second?
It had to be
Seton
one of
Hall.
the biggest,
Seton Hall
or
biggest,
St.
biggest
John's?
teams.
Seton Hall was second. Indiana State was third, and Pitt was fourth.
Shout out Frank
So-
the Tank.
NC State stole a bid, and then Oregon,
Yeah,
and then if Dayton would have won the A10, they didn't. That was
And-
another bid stealer. And there was 5 in total. Who were the other 2 on here?
Well, remember Florida Atlantic didn't win theirs.
Oh yeah, Florida Atlantic didn't win their conference. That's 4.
Um,
And then there's another one here somewhere.
and it's the same with all these teams. I just think Pittsburgh.
A&M won the fucking SEC, didn't they?
No.
Oh, Auburn won the SEC. Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
Pittsburgh had a pretty good record, right? They're 22-11 and they're 13-9 in the ACC. I mean, that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
New Mexico, another bid stealer because putting them in an 11 seed basically says that they would not have been in if it wasn't for winning
Right.
their tournament.
Right. So win your
Because
tournament and you'll get in.
Because Drake's at 10. And that's the other thing. Usually the play-in games are 11s, but that's how far up all these bid stealers push the bubble is because these playing games this year are 10 seeds.
And OU's, there's.
I don't
their
even
strength
feel
of
bad. I don't
schedule
even-
isn't- It's
They
not
didn't lose
bad.
they didn't lose a game outside of quad 1 all year.
Who?
OU.
They didn't lose a quad one win.
They didn't lose a game outside of quad 1. So they didn't lose a quad 2 or quad 3 game. All their losses were in quad 1.
I don't even feel bad for OU because they started off the year 13-1, and then they finished 20 and what they finished 20 and
That
14.
was the good thing with OU.
I think that was just the eye test at the end. Really, it was just that they were
on the downhill
They
trend.
weren't worth the shit anymore.
right, but OU they had their chance. I mean, they were playing.
They did. They
tournament-
had plenty of
They were
chances.
playing tournament teams every game.
Yeah.
So they had their
Well,
chance.
think about it. They win one more game, they're probably in. If they beat Houston, they
Well,
beat Houston that
they're
night, they
in.
lost by
They-
2.
if
They're
they
probably
beat-
in.
If they beat Houston, they're probably not even on the bubble. That beating the 1 seed, they probably would have been comfortably.
So
I mean, you might have been sweating, but they ultimately would have made it. And I mean, I'm just going to come out and flat out say the Big East Conference got hosed. They got 3 teams in the tournament for the first time since 1993. That was a good conference.
it was
this year.
It was.
And for 3 teams to be in it is I don't think it's right. I think there are some teams that you could have put in over Michigan State.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well, think about it. It's Tom Izzo. I mean, when they think about it, it's the same way how
But I
Saban
don't-
kind of finagled
But
his
I
way
don't.
into
I don't
getting
think
the
so.
final playoff spot.
See, people say that, but Michigan State's strength of schedule was good. I don't have it written down, but Michigan State's non-conference was good. That's why Michigan State got in because they played a non-conference schedule. Sure, they didn't win all the games, but they played them. They had a 500 record in the Big Ten. They were pretty hot there at the end of the season, but to be completely honest, I can't sit here and say I think Michigan State should still be in at 19 and 14. I just don't.
I think that what cuts it really close, like I said earlier, is how the play-ins are for 10s. So that basically is the last 4 in this year because you got 4 teams playing for 10s. Drake was an AQ, so the only at-large 10 seed was Nevada. So basically, three of the 9 seeds were the last 4 byes, which means you don't have to play a playing game. So Michigan State was probably anywhere from the 5th to the 7th last team in. I mean, if they don't beat Baylor by 20, I mean, you might have been flipping a coin on Sunday.
So let me ask this question really quick, just because Christian asked. He said, "What are your thoughts on we'll just say people in general, because I've seen this, thinking they should expand the tournament?"
No,
I don't like the idea of expanding the tournament to 78 teams, because then when's it end?
What is the point of a regular season?
Yeah,
you're going to have teams that are 3 games over 500 being in the turn, right? Okay, here's the
OU's in. All these teams are in, no problem.
For instance, which I think every single one of those teams would have a case to be in. But what I'm saying is Michigan State went 19-14. That means they were 5 games over 500 and they got in pretty easily, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't have to play a play-in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to tell me if you expand the tournament, you're going to have teams that are 2 or 3 games over 500 that are on the bubble and might get in. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just basically saying the regular season don't mean anything.
I agree. I think it's good at what it is now, but when money starts getting involved, I mean, think about it. If they expand the tournament, they're going to make so much more money.
Well, I get it, but
that's what they're thinking about. Everything's a business at the end of the day.
But why 10 years ago it would have been the same thing. Money was money 10 years ago. Why is it just all
How long have they had the 4 extra teams? Do you know? Because that wasn't always a thing.
I think it was about 15 years ago.
Yeah. Because this wasn't always a thing, the first 4.
And we've seen that one year, Syracuse.
Yeah.
Syracuse got in.
UCLA went all the way to the Final Four.
With the first 4. Yeah. So, I mean.
So did VCU.
I mean, I'm going to tell you a team that I think could do that is Virginia.
No.
Out of all those teams, which one are you taking?
None of them. But
if you had to choose.
If I had to choose, I would.
Virginia.
If I had to choose, I would probably say Boise State.
I'll take Virginia just because of their quality of opponents all year.
Their offense is horseshit.
Their offense is horseshit. Their offense was horseshit the year they won it all, though.
Yeah,
their offense is always horseshit. They're a boring ass basketball team. Sorry,
this is the team that got hosed the most.
That's the team that didn't deserve it out of all.
No, I agree. Virginia should be out.
Yeah,
Virginia should be out. They should not be in this tournament.
I don't care which one of the 4 you put in, but they should have took Virginia out of there.
Virginia didn't. I don't think Virginia beat North Carolina or Duke, so I don't know where their good wins came from.
My opinion would be Virginia should be replaced with Seton Hall.
100%. This is what I was just gonna say. The team that got hosed the most is Seton Hall. Yeah. Seton Hall. Here we go. 20-12, 5-8 in quad 1. They beat UConn, number 1 overall seed. They beat Marquette.
Did they beat Creighton too? Or no?
I'm not sure if they beat Marquette. Now, their strength of schedule kind of hurts them.
Creighton.
But you can't tell me you beat UConn, Marquette. You're 20-12. You're 5-8 in quad 1. You play in the Big East. The Big East was ultimately.
I'm gonna look here. Just keep going. I'll find it.
I just think Seton Hall had the best case, and they got left out. Anybody? I mean,
yeah.
They beat Providence when Providence was ranked.
They beat Providence. They
lost to Creighton in triple overtime by 3.
Okay, I remember that game. I mean, look. I mean, come on. I can't. How do you leave Seton Hall out? It's blasphemous. It's terrible. It's awful that the Big East has 3 teams. I think that, you know what? This might be a hot take. The Big East might have been better than the Big Ten this year.
I think
competition-wise,
probably
very close.
You got teams like Providence and St. John's who are
now
decent teams.
My thing is what I'll argue back for the Big Ten is I think Nebraska is like a Seton Hall or is like a Providence. So we have teams like that. So Michigan State reminds me of these teams. I feel like these conferences were almost identical. And I think the Big Ten, because of their name, got more teams than the Big East.
Probably because they're Power 5.
But I don't think that Big East is the Power 5.
Yeah.
And
no,
Big
they're
East,
not.
No, they're not.
No?
No, the Power 5 is the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the Pac-10, and the SEC.
Oh, then that's 100% why, because of their name. And they feel like they're going to
But the Pac-12 is no longer a fucking
How many championships have come out of the Big East?
A lot.
Okay. So I don't. I mean,
UConn, and then
that's what I'm saying.
you got
UConn.
Georgetown back in the day.
So the Big East is a great basketball conference, and they got hosed bad.
I mean,
and
they suck now, but back when our parents were kids, DePaul was awesome.
yeah, I know they're. I mean, you could even talk about. I mean, look, St. John's.
Yeah, they were good.
20-13. St. John's had the highest net team to ever miss the tourney in the Big East ever. Their net was
I can
32.
understand why they missed, though. I think they had some sketchy losses.
I agree, but their strength of schedule of 64 is better than all of them.
Yeah, and then if you wanted to put them next to Seton Hall, I mean, yeah, they beat Seton Hall in the Big East tournament, but Seton Hall swept them in the regular season.
Who did?
Seton Hall swept St. John's, and then St. John's beat them in the tournament. So Seton Hall beat St. John's 2 out of 3.
Well,
I'd say
yeah, but
what do you make of St. John's though almost beating UConn last week? I mean,
if you're
doing
it
happens.
If you're doing eye test, St. John's was playing better at the moment. Christian said he agrees that the Big East. The Big
It's
East
a little bit better than
was
the Big Ten this year.
competitive. It's been in a decade. Yeah, I agree.
Well, what do you think of so Jacob's comment goes, what do you guys think about the other Big Ten teams like Wisconsin, Purdue?
I hope Purdue loses in the first round.
Not what do you hope, what do you think?
I think
Go ahead, Jake. All right, I'm going to start it off. The same thing I thought last year when I was watching the game and I thought Fairleigh Dickinson was going to beat them. If you could figure out a way to get Edie in foul trouble or just double team and make somebody else beat you, because besides Edie, nobody on that team, in my opinion, is going to go out there and get a fucking bucket every time down the floor like Edie can just because he's 7'4".
Well,
if the guy wasn't 7'4", if he was 6'5", we wouldn't even be talking about him.
I think what you could do what I would do to try to beat Purdue is to try to get Edie out of the paint. So that's why it doesn't make any sense to me why Illinois doesn't match up well with Edie, because
Nobody does.
Coleman, but Coleman is someone who can shoot the three. So I always thought going into those games, Edie would have to come out and guard the three, which would open the lane. But it never happened. So I don't know if they just are going to let Coleman shoot.
Well, that's because I forgot who their other guys that starts, but then their 6th man, Gillis, they'd put him on Hawkins.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
That's
the other thing. I like Coleman Hawkins. I'm not trying to shit on him, but like everybody always says his defense is so good. I mean, you've seen it yesterday. You've seen it so many times. I mean, he gets beat a lot.
But
I mean, yeah, he can guard all 5 spots on the floor, but he does.
He does. But I mean, he's the one also at the end of the game is getting these big rebounds and big blocks.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen that too.
I like him.
So what? I mean, what do you do? He's always probably picked to guard one of the hardest players on the team.
Yeah.
He's always, and a lot of times he's going up against someone bigger than him. Coleman's tall. He's not big. You know what I mean? He's not strong. Like, if someone's got weight on him, we screwed.
Well, I agree with getting him out of the lane as far as Edie goes, but when he goes down the other end, there's like no fucking way to not let him get in the lane. He gets to his fucking, his spot right there every time down.
Purdue's got the easiest bracket in the tournament. The Midwest is the easiest.
Okay? I agree. I think UConn got the toughest draw, and they're the number 1 overall seed.
Say what you want about Creighton and Tennessee and Kansas and Gonzaga. Gonzaga's not Gonzaga of the past.
Kansas might be without Dickinson and another color.
I think they're back. Now that would be a team that would scare me.
Fuck, I picked Samford to beat Kansas.
Me too.
And I picked McNeese to beat Gonzaga.
They're getting those guys back. And Bill Self will not lose in the first round. I'm just telling you.
He's done it.
That was to Arkansas. This is to Samford. Purdue has the just because they wouldn't have to meet Tennessee till the Elite Eight, or would it be? Yeah, it would be Elite Eight.
I don't even think Tennessee's gonna make it the Elite Eight.
They would either play them or Creighton.
Why? Who the hell's gonna beat Tennessee?
Creighton.
Okay, but that's in the Sweet 16. So yeah, they'd meet Creighton in the Elite Eight. Now he said something about Wisconsin. To be honest with you, I think Nebraska's a team that don't. I'm not picking it, but Nebraska can beat Houston, and I'll tell you why. Because Nebraska could shoot the fucking lights out of the ball, and if Houston doesn't come ready to play, I just watching Houston play in their championship game. You better not play like that. They'll shoot you out of the gym, and then we're looking at Nebraska in the Sweet 16. Potentially playing a Duke or a Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, Nebraska could be. They might go. Nebraska could go to the Elite Eight. I mean, the path is there. I mean, the only thing that scares me about Houston is their defense is absolutely slow. They just smother you. That's why I did not want Illinois to be with Houston, because Illinois, when teams beat Illinois up, they fold.
Yeah.
And Houston is going to beat you up.
So I agree with Jake on Jacobs. Go ahead.
Oh, are we still on that?
Yeah, we're still on
Just
that.
the Big Ten.
Well, so we'll jump into our sleeper picks.
We don't
then.
think Northwestern can make a run, right? We'll go through the Big Ten
We'll
teams.
jump into our
He just
sleepers
said-
here.
yeah. He says what 7 seed?
Yeah, or lower. And you pick Nebraska, and I don't want to pick the same one as you, but
So
I like that
7
pick.
seed or lower.
We each
or
get
higher?
one. No, he said 7
Anything
seed or
anything
lower,
lower
like
than
at
a
8,
7.
9, 10, 11, 12.
Well,
Down the
I'm
list.
taking Nebraska. I think they're the scariest team in the tournament.
I
I
also
think
love
they
that
are.
pick from Jake. That's who I would pick. Now, if I'm going to give you a different one, Oregon's a 6 seed.
I don't like
11.
them at all.
They're 11.
Yeah.
I thought they were 6.
11.
I
South
thought
Carolina's
BYU was a
6.
10 and they were a 6-2. I don't know where the fuck I came up with that at.
Well, I'm going to go ahead with Oregon. I mean, they ended up winning their championship
where
game.
do you see
They're
from them,
hot.
though?
They've won about 5 or 6 games in a row. I think they could make a little bit of a run.
don't see it. I don't see where. I just don't think they're that. I never heard of anything. Any of them this year. Guess they play. We're gonna hear about them.
Drew, you got
We're
one?
gonna hear.
Nothing super crazy, but I would say 7 seed Florida. I like them
Yeah.
to beat Marquette in the
Now,
second
wait.
round, go to the Sweet 16.
Did we hear about their player that got hurt?
No.
That starter that broke his
He's
ankle.
out. Yeah, he's out.
I mean, it's a huge. You're down one starter.
Yeah, but some
Um,
crazier things happen. And I think Marquette is probably
NC
the most
State is red
vulnerable
hot.
2
They
seed.
are. Let's see NC State's path. What bracket are they in?
NC
They're right here.
State's-
They're in the South. I got them playing against Tech. In a lot of my brackets, I did beat them. I did pick them to at least beat Tech, but after that, I don't know. I don't think they could score as many points as Kentucky.
Yeah,
Kentucky fucking scores.
Kentucky. So does North Carolina, and that's who they beat.
I mean, it's possible. I just think Kentucky.
I know. I'm just. Yeah. So I got Nebraska. He's got Oregon. He's got Florida.
I forgot. Yeah. Okay. I agree with that.
So let's talk about where some of these games are being played, because it kind of irritates me that. How did Purdue Purdue's literally playing in Indianapolis? Drew, do you know why that is?
Well, because they're the number 1 seed, so that's how it works.
No, they're a number 1 seed, yes, but I think he's just going from the fact that okay, North Carolina is playing in Charlotte.
That's close. It's
And
Charlotte.
UConn's playing in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
so,
Houston's
Houston's
first
playing in
game's in
Memphis.
Dallas. Houston's first game's in
Houston-
Dallas.
Oh, it's in Dallas. So
Their first round. The next ones are, Memphis. It says there, but
Okay,
the
but
first one
why-
is in Dallas.
So how the fuck does Duke get Brooklyn, New York, and then Illinois got to play all the way in Omaha?
because they're the 3 seed. And usually they
Duke's the 4 seed.
Well, Duke. Everybody in fucking college basketball is like Duke's their little baby. Like nobody wants to point out the fact that really, if you go back and watch, it looks like Philip.
I mean, like
Philip-
Illinois.
how do you say his name?
Illinois is a 3
Fucking
seed, and they're
Filipowski?
gonna go from
Looks
playing.
like he was the one trying to push that kid at half court.
They're gonna go. Illinois is gonna go from playing in Omaha to where would the Sweet 16 be for us next? Then it doesn't say on here.
16 would be, I don't know.
Okay.
But back to Florida really quick. That kid that got hurt, he averages 5.3 points a game and 7 boards. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Probably be like losing Quincy Guerrier.
I mean,
Well, here's another. This is a little bit off topic, but you see Long Beach State down here in the West playing against Arizona.
Yeah.
What do you make of them releasing
Yeah.
them saying that he's not going to be the coach next year, and then he makes the tournament?
So we got.
How cool would it be though for him to make a run and then him still be out of a job?
They're going kind of alluding to that point. There's 5 people on here. What is there any upset? The 1 or 2, any 1, 2, or 3 upset that you guys think could happen?
In what, the first round or a little bit after?
Just the first games, the 1, 2, or 3 seed. Is there any upset that you think could happen? Because I'm just not seeing it this year. I mean,
only in the first round. You said?
I would probably pick Morehead State over Illinois.
that'd be the one. And then I was going to say that. And then probably Arizona ain't going to make that same mistake 2 years in a row. So I would probably say Western Kentucky over Marquette. Marquette's good, but I'm not very high on them right now.
I mean,
yeah,
I don't
they're getting
think there's going to be a
back,
one.
but
There ain't going to be a one. I don't think there's a 116 upset this year. I just don't.
I doubt it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't see.
And then, really, the other thing I
really see Kansas losing the first round.
I got that too.
I see Samford winning.
Why?
Because Samford presses
Kansas,
the whole game.
Okay,
Kansas has been banged up for the last 3 weeks. Who cares if they all come back? They haven't played a real basketball game in 3 weeks.
You guys,
Bill Self.
I'm just telling you.
I'm just telling you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. The same way, it don't matter what I think, really. But a lot of people are picking Samford to beat Kansas, and a lot of people have talked about McNeese beating Gonzaga.
They're a really good shooting team.
I could see Gonzaga losing. I'm not a Gonzaga fan this year.
McNeese's coach is that guy who used to coach LSU. They got fired for them.
Seabed said St. Peter's over Tennessee. Now, Seabed, are you saying that just because of
what? Because of Dougie McDermott or McBuckets who ain't even there?
Didn't we just have a didn't St. Peter's just make a run last year?
That was 2 years ago now.
Is that, I mean,
beat Kentucky and Purdue.
Yeah, that was incredible. But like any team can get hot from 3 in March, and that's what is scary, right?
Yeah.
You could lose. A 1 could beat a 16 because they're hot from 3, and it's what you got to watch out for. So, from the first 4, I said Virginia. Drew, you said Boise State.
For first 4, just
any team that could maybe
sleeper.
Just any team that could.
Colorado,
Boise State, but
Colorado State.
I picked Boise
Colorado
State.
right there.
I picked Boise State to beat Colorado, but I have them losing to Florida. And then the other 10 matchup, I have Colorado State beating Virginia, and then I have them also beating Texas.
Yeah. So, do we want to just say our Final 4?
Well, I have like 5 Final Fours, but in this one, my favorite Final Four. I'll go with my favorite Final Four. So, I got UConn, who I absolutely love. I got North Carolina, I got Creighton, and I got Kentucky in this one.
Kentucky.
That's what I got in this one. Go ahead with yours, then we'll talk about it.
Go ahead, Drew.
I got UConn coming out of the East. Then out of the West, I got Baylor. And then out of the South, I got Houston. Midwest, I got Creighton. And then I got UConn beating Baylor, Houston beating Creighton, and then I got UConn over Houston for the championship.
So I have not filled the bracket out, to be honest, because I haven't had time today. But I think I like UConn to get there. I think I like UConn over Illinois in the Elite 8. I like Illinois to beat Iowa State in the Sweet 16. I really do, if that matchup happens. And then, so UConn would be my Final 4 in the East. I think North Carolina has an easy path there too. Don't you guys?
North Carolina?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they got a good path to get into the Elite 8.
I mean, sure, you think their round of 32 matchup could be tough. 100%.
I can't really believe I'm saying it, and I honestly don't know why I'm saying it, but usually every year there's a number 1 seed that does not make it out of the first weekend. UConn definitely will. I think Purdue will. And the only 2 that I think could really lose the first weekend is Houston or North Carolina. And I went with Michigan State beating North Carolina in the second round.
Big balls.
That's what I think. I mean, you got to think about it.
For me, it'd be Houston losing the first weekend.
Yeah, that too. They could both happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so who's the weakest one? Here's a question.
Weakest 1 seed?
Who's the weakest 1 seed?
North Carolina. And Iowa State, I would have gave the 1 seed to North Carolina over Iowa State. But the other thing in the rankings, I believe Iowa State was 7 or 8. So they weren't even winning the Big 12 didn't do shit for them. I mean, people were saying that Iowa State had a shot at a 1 seed going into Sunday because North Carolina lost. They were 2 spots off.
Yeah. Well, fuck Drew. I mean, look how many teams got left out.
And then they stuck them with the best team in the country.
This was a weird bracket. I'm just telling you. This was weird.
What do you guys think? Which region has the most loaded bracket?
The East.
It's the East. We've already said this. Cole said it earlier. All 4 power conference championships.
It's not even close. Like my Sweet 16 is each so I got the Big East winner, SEC winner, the Big 10 winner, the Big 12 winner. I don't even think it's close. I don't know why, because UConn's the number 1 overall seed, right? So they're supposed to have what you would say the easiest path to get into the Final Four. And I think they got the toughest fucking path.
I think the West is the weakest because, I mean, I have Baylor over Bama in the Elite Eight. I think that has potential to be an absolute shit show, even bigger than a 3 beating a 4. I think it could be.
Well, the thing about Alabama and Baylor is that they score a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. And
so
I have Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's in the first round, Grand Canyon playing Bama, and Bama winning in the second round. That could also be another. Grand Canyon could go to the Sweet 16 too.
I think the Midwest is the weakest. I'm sorry.
I could see that also.
I mean,
I agree.
Tennessee and
I don't
Creighton.
know. Yeah,
I mean,
Tennessee, Creighton, and Purdue though, and then say what you want about Gonzaga, but they've really turned it up here in the past month and a half.
They have. I mean, they're coached by Mark. What's his name?
How about Gonzaga? 24 straight years making the tournament. The only other 2 schools that have a longer streak is Kansas and Michigan State. They said.
We won't get into Gonzaga because there's a reason I don't like them. Play somebody. They did this year. That's why they're in. They finally started playing tough. Last 2 or 3 years, Gonzaga finally started scheduling a non-conference schedule that was absolutely insane. And that's good. That's why they're in, and that's why Gonzaga's what? What's their record this year?
25-7.
And what? Normally they got 3 or 4 losses. Those other
that's still a fucking great record.
Yeah, but those other 3 or 4 losses, they all came non-conference. But they lose to St. Mary's, and that's it in their conference?
Lost to St. Mary's twice.
And that's it?
St. Mary's is a good team.
They lost to Santa Clara.
So they lost 4 non-conference games.
They lost 3 conference games.
And they have 7.
Well, I think they played Kansas. They played Kansas, and they played Baylor.
And I think but anyway,
they might even have played UConn.
Gonzaga finally has started scheduling people, and that's why I'm giving them a little bit more respect. But before this, Gonzaga, you play in the fucking.
But you can only do what you're given. Like they can't go to another conference.
I know, but that's why they haven't won one. I mean, I don't like the.
That's not a conference.
Let's see. They played Purdue and lost by 10. They played. So I'll get another one here in December.
Did they beat anybody?
They played UConn.
They played UConn, lost by 13.
They lost to San Diego State.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough non-conference
conference
schedule.
Yeah, and they lost all of them. Really, they just
Well, sometimes I mean, yeah, but
that's why they're in. You know, and
I think they're in regardless, even if they wouldn't have scheduled like that. I mean, they wouldn't have been a.
Well, yeah,
they wouldn't have been the 5 seed
record,
that they are.
So,
but they probably would have been a 7.
So, Jake, what did you say your Final Four was?
Well, I had UConn out of the East, and I unfortunately like Purdue out of the Midwest just because it's so weak. You know what? I like Marquette in the South. I do.
I had Marquette coming
because
out in a lot of mine.
I think the South is kind of weak too. And then out of the West,
I like North Carolina or Baylor.
Marquette's another team that shits their pants a lot in March, though, too.
But it's going to be hard to shit your pants versus some of these teams. Kentucky in the Sweet 16 will be tough.
Florida will be tough. Kentucky will be tough.
If Kentucky gets there, who's to say they could? I mean, Kentucky can't really play defense. I've watched them this year, and they can't stop a fucking nosebleed.
Yeah, but when you score 100 points, it's kind of.
I get it, but that doesn't mean the other team ain't going to put up 90 points. You might have a bad shooting day. You know what I mean? Yeah. You never know what you could run into. Now, my champion is UConn. I picked them in every fucking bracket. It's either going to look really smart or really stupid. And I got UConn and Creighton in every single bracket as my championship game. If Illinois was in a different
fucking region, I'd be very high on them coming out to the Final Four.
Anyone but UConn's region, I agree.
But like I said, it's all about matchups. I mean,
but
let's see how we match up. We would meet. The good thing is we do avoid UConn until the Elite Eight. So how does Illinois match up with Iowa State in the Sweet 16? I mean,
Iowa State plays really good defense.
Let me see both rosters.
The way that
you want to see the 2, would you rather see the 2 or 1 seed in the Sweet 16?
Yeah, but the way that their past 3 tournaments have been, I think all we can do is just worry about Thursday right now.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying.
Well, this is what we're talking about. Here.
I know.
We're projecting.
Predicting. I'm just saying. I 100% agree with Drew and his naysaying because they haven't done it. So, what do you say?
I don't see anyone else winning besides UConn. If Illinois can get past them, I think they won it all. I agree. I don't see anybody else winning besides UConn.
Look,
they're the most picked tournament champion this year, as most would expect.
I just don't think there's a player like 26% Shannon
of
Jr.
brackets
in college basketball.
No, there's not. But when you look at a team, I don't think there's any team in the nation that's, I'm not going to say remotely close, but like UConn is by far the best team in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not even close.
I don't know if it's close. I mean, Houston and Purdue. I mean,
I think UConn would wipe the floor with Houston.
I agree.
I don't really think Houston's that. I don't think Houston's.
Yeah, I think they would beat Houston, but I don't think they'd wipe the floor with Purdue. I don't think anybody's wiping the floor with Purdue.
I know they were seeded. Houston was 1, and then Houston got the 2, and Purdue got the 3. The only thing I would do, I mean, they both lost in their conference tournament. I would flip. I would take Purdue as the 2 and Houston as the 3. But I can see why they did it the other way because Houston lost to Iowa State and Purdue lost to Wisconsin. So, like, Iowa State is obviously better than Wisconsin.
Yeah. But back to what Jacob said, when you look at this about UConn, I mean, you're not even worried about UConn losing the game. Like, don't get me wrong. If you're looking at all these,
let me just tell you,
the first 3 games, you're looking at all these teams, just the first 3 games. So 1, 2, 3, before they even get there.
Yes, because
you're not even worried about them losing.
Yes, because
it ain't gonna happen.
Because I don't. Now listen to me. I heard somebody say, after what Florida Atlantic did last year,
they got everybody back.
You don't like to see them in the round of 32.
Well, they look like garbage in their tournament game. I'm
just telling you,
everybody's 0-0.
Bright lights show up. Illinois played FAU, and they both scored 100 points.
Everybody's 0-0.
So
Florida Atlantic has experience, and
I'm just telling you,
this is going to sound really fucking stupid, especially being from Illinois. You shouldn't really be wanting this to happen, but Boo Buie is pretty damn good. And if Northwestern rebounds the ball that day, I wouldn't put $1 on it, but you never know.
What about them beating UConn?
You never know.
Is Northwestern, aren't they kind of banged up though?
I took them over Florida Atlantic, but so Christian said,
look at these teams,
I know that's going to sound really stupid, but we've seen some weird shit the
San Diego
last couple
State
years.
and Florida Atlantic, didn't they both make it to the Final Four last year?
Yeah. And Houston.
And now you got UConn in here. And now you got Illinois. And then this is the hardest fucking bracket.
There's 3 Final Four teams from last year in this bracket.
I mean, I'm just going to tell you, Illinois got fucking hosed again.
A lot of teams got hosed.
No.
A lot of them did. I mean, you can almost argue that Iowa State got fucked.
I think Iowa State's the best 2 seed.
I want Illinois to be a 4. I wanted Illinois to be a 4 seed after seeing this bracket.
Okay, well then what? What if they would have put them in the East and moved Auburn to the South, and they would have been the 4? Then they just run into UConn even quicker.
No, I'm saying I would have liked them to be the 4, and maybe they potentially put in a different region.
I know, but
any other region I would like.
So really quick here, let's take a look at Seabed's Final Four here. What do you guys think? He's got UConn, Zona, Houston, and Tennessee.
Look, everybody's Final Four this year is going to be higher seeds because this tournament is higher seeded dominant this year. There are no really middle of the pack teams that you could see make a championship run. I don't.
I'm not sold on Arizona.
I'm not sold on Arizona either. No.
I wouldn't say that they're. I don't even know what the right word is to describe them because, I mean, obviously they're good, but
would love to see Illinois in the Midwest. Oh, fuck yeah.
Well,
that's the easy. I already told you the Midwest is the easiest side bracket, I think. Easiest region.
They could, but that'd be very convenient. But I think there's some kind of rule involved there too, with Purdue being the 1 seed and how that can't happen.
What was UConn's ranking last year when they entered the tournament? Were they a 4?
Yeah.
Because I even last year I thought they were the best team, and I threw them there.
Oh, I mean, I didn't pick them, but
yeah,
you knew
Purdue's got it easy. Purdue does have the easiest path to the Final Four. I agree. I said that.
I agree.
I
don't know. I would say
I have that in a couple of mine too.
I got a couple of that too. The Big East got fucking hosed. Look at a lot of people have 3 Big East teams in the Final Four, and they've got 3 teams in the tournament.
Yeah. Creighton's a good fucking team.
Creighton's good. Their coach reminds me of Brad Underwood. But I don't know, guys. That's kind of all I got. I'll go back to saying this about Illinois. We can end on Illinois. I've said it once. I'll say it again. I don't think there's another college basketball player in college basketball like Terrence Shannon Jr. that can get up and down the floor like that. I just don't see it. And that's why I like Illinois' chances in any one of these games, because of him. So my thing is if Illinois is playing a tough game, do you put Shannon on their best player?
No,
Or do you put Shannon
I'll tell you what,
on
he
somebody else so
defended
he
really
doesn't
well.
What do you do?
If I was a team and they put Shannon on my best player, like say Illinois were to run into Tennessee, so, I mean they can't because they're obviously like different sides until the Final Four. But say that you ran into a team like Tennessee,
Could you put him on
and you got
Connect?
I wouldn't, because they're just going to take it right at him, and you get him two fouls, it's over.
And that's fine. So who would you have guard Connect?
Quincy Gary.
No,
You could
Ty
start
Rodgers.
with Quincy,
I would,
and then you could move to Coleman.
I'd probably say Coleman.
And we've played Tennessee, and we played them pretty darn good on the road.
Yeah, I would say Coleman, or I don't even know, maybe Damask.
Yeah, I mean there is not one player in this tournament that can. Dalton Connect can take a game over 100%. But I mean, I'm just telling you, dude shot 44 free throws in 3 games, scored 102 points in 3 games. I'm just not seeing anybody else do that. Yeah, you should be shot, Cooper. Justin Harmon. Let's just say this. He got off to a good start, and he has been gone the last 3 weeks. The last month. Where has he been? He can't guard. He can't score. He's late. He turns the ball over. He doesn't get through screens. Why does he play so much?
I don't know. I also seen.
What does he do?
I also seen another stat, and I don't know the exact metric on it, like by the numbers, but I seen the stat today on Twitter. Teams that play slow pace, kind of like Wisconsin, and versus teams that are like run and gun, like kind of like Illinois. There's a certain metric for it, but I don't know it. But basically what I'm trying to say is the slower team wins in the first round against a fast team 80% of the time. That's why I took Wisconsin to beat James Madison. And then that's also what kind of worries me. I don't think we'll lose, but Morehead State plays very slow too.
Sincere Harris is back next year. Sincere Harris redshirted this year. I didn't know you could do that. I was told Sincere Harris was told he needed to get bigger. That's what I heard, that he
They said it was his decision to redshirt,
but I was told
Has he gotten bigger?
I was
Has
told
anybody
they had
seen?
conversations about him maybe needing
I personally
to beef up a little bit.
I personally think it was stupid because he had a pretty decent year last year for being a freshman, and he would have got minutes this year.
And Luke Goody is also coming back next year. Everybody was wondering.
You don't know that though.
Well, I'm just going to tell you that I watched an interview of Luke Goody say he's coming back.
What's he supposed to say? They're in the middle of making a
Well,
tournament.
you think he's going to go to the fucking NBA?
No, but I get it.
No.
But I'm just telling you, from what he said, he's coming back.
Yeah.
And that's what he said.
But when they're about to start the NCAA tournament,
And
he's not
he
gonna
always
say,
is posting.
He's
Always posting about how he loves Coach Underwood, how he loves his team, he loves his program, he wants to be here all 4 years. I think what happened is I think Luke Goody graduated early. That's fine. He still has a year for it, and he can get another degree.
Now, can Coleman, if he wanted to, come back again next
Technically,
year?
Coleman Hawkins
Because
can come back.
I mean, let's be realistic here. He can go overseas and make money
COVID
playing.
years, 2 more years. That's it.
But he
has one more.
No, but I'm saying because if you redshirted COVID year, you then would have we will be talking about COVID years for next year and the following year, and then COVID years are done.
Well, because what I'm saying is this is like Hawkins, I'm sorry, but he's not an NBA player. So I don't see the point in going to the draft. He's not going to get picked in the first round.
That's fine.
He might not even get picked in the second round.
Yeah, I seen any number was like in the mid-50s, which is cutting it way too close.
Yeah,
if you don't
that's
get
about the
drafted, you're going to be like, well, what the fuck? I should have just went back to school.
Yeah.
I get it. That's kind of all I got, guys.
Yeah, that's it. I think it'll be a great tournament. I look forward to it.
This
I can't
tournament's
wait.
I can't
wait.
Look, we've said before, March brings the unknown. What do you say? I can't read that.
I don't know.
Brad
I
not being a
think-
maniac on the sideline has helped this team. If he stays calm in big moments, it will reflect on the team. That
He might
showed a
have-
lot in the Big Ten tournament.
He might have stayed calm on the sideline,
Yeah,
but he ripped their
Brad,
ass a few times.
I think you know as well as we do that they were down at halftime at all three of these. Well, they were winning 41-40.
They were down 10
But
points in the second half.
They were
in all
down
3 of these games.
I heard these halftime speeches were
Brutal.
pretty much you guys aren't as good as you think you are, and he was really honest with them.
Well, I think that's huge because they do play and act like they're better than everybody they play.
And I'm all for it. Underwood throwing tantrums on the sidelines if it's against the officials, because this is the way that these games have been officialed this year have been awful.
Jacob says this was fun. You three should do this after the first weekend. Is that something you guys be willing to do? Another live talk about the first weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would have to do it Wednesday because the games would start Thursday, right? The Elite Eight, the Sweet 16 would be Thursday, Friday. Elite Eight would be Saturday, Sunday. We'd have to do it
we
Wednesday.
could do it then, or we could do it
Monday,
Monday.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
Wednesday,
one of them, one of the days. We'll find it. We'll figure it out. Thanks for coming on, guys. We appreciate it. Make sure to join our free bracket on ESPN Tournament Challenge. Like I said, I left the username and password in the description below. Tell your friends about it. Make sure to like and subscribe. And thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next time. Anybody else? Anything to add?
Nope.
No? All right.
ILL.
I
I and I. Let's ride.